He mentioned some things about our aqidah, about the correct minhaj, and these things are ways that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prepared the ummah for the things that they were going to encounter in Medina. We have to remember now, this was after the events that we're covering now. It's the Medina Surah, is after Mecca, and the things are supposed to be secure in the Muslims, in their ibadah, their iman. But now we were facing one of the bigger struggles about our internal things. He mentioned some of the things that were past failures of the ummah, of other ummahs before us, because this is important, because this gives us a way to gauge ourselves and to correct mistakes. And subhanAllah, one of the key things that we're here is obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His messengers. Because disobedience leads to demise of the ummah, the weakness and the problems of the ummah. And we were now talking about jihad fi sabilillah. And this is a challenge because belief and obedience of the ummah had a great deal to do with this. Because the Imam mentioned the story of Talut and the great army that he had, and how he had given them an order that when they reached the river that they shouldn't drink from this river. But of course, he had a very large army, and I don't remember the number, but many thousands, large army, and they drunk. So we know this was the story of Talut. Now, this comes to an event that we cover in part of these ayahs of the 4th juz of what? The battle of Uhud. Obedience of the orders of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We know that in this event something took place, and we'll get to that. But in the earlier group of the 4th juz, these things were building up because of the behavior of Bani Israel and how they turned away from the message, many messengers, and things that were best for the ummah and for the believers, they turned away. Juz 2, the group 2, talked about be careful of who we befriend. Be careful of our relationships, because many people may appear to be well-being, but these people, in fact, wish to do you harm. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the Quran. Who does that tell us about? The munafiqeen. Because there were many of them that were in the midst of the Muslims, and when the call for jihad goes out, what happens? Or when something happens that is not just jihad fi sabilillah, when something is difficult, what happens? You have people who try to change the tide. Or if they didn't go to jihad, this wouldn't have happened. If you wouldn't have went, this wouldn't have happened. All of these type of things. And there's something that I came to think about as I was reviewing this ayah, and these are things that people always hear, and this is confirmed in Islam. When people say you're weak, put your heart into it, right? Or if you ever seen when they talk about fighters and things, they say, take his heart. Or this is not for the faint of heart or the weak of heart. What does this mean? It means that if a person's heart, the iman is in our heart. If your heart is not in something, you probably won't be involved with it. You won't do it, no matter how strong your body may be. But if your heart doesn't want to do it, you probably will find that you'll have a very difficult time. And even after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed in the Quran what? About people going to battle, said that, why do you worry about it? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may send 3,000 to 5,000 angels to accompany you, to help you in this battle. Even if people's heart and the iman was not there, it didn't matter. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I sent 5 million angels to accompany you, and they were weak and faint in heart, and there was no iman, hypocrisy in their heart, they probably would not have went. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us understand that disobedience will cause failure. In the beginning of Uhud, we have to remember the previous battle of Badr, right? Those who missed Badr, they felt Badr was a victory for the Muslims. And they saw the booty that came back from the caravan and these things. So many people, when the call came from Uhud, in their minds, they wanted what? Spoils of war. So, but keep one other thing in mind, that when Uhud came, there were going to be originally 1,000 warriors. And what happened? We know there was a person, maybe a hypocrite, Abdullah ibn Ubay. He had a little army of 300 people, and they left. So Allah said also in these verses that He would separate those who are in our midst. So those were 300 gone, and now we were down to 700 against 1,000. So as we went, so I want to keep you too long, we went on to Uhud, and what happens? The Prophet ﷺ gave an order to the archers, and many of you have been to Uhud, been Umrah, Hajj, you go and you see this little hill, and He told the archers, gave an order, stay on your post. Stay on your post. Stay in that place. And if you ever go, you see it's a high ground. And it doesn't look that high, but when you go up, you see, and you can look over everything, and you see what's going on. And those archers were there on that hill, and what did they see? They saw that it appeared that the battle had been won. That the battle had been won. So what did they also see? Now their knots start to take over. They saw the booty, the spoils of war, and some appeared to be collecting the spoils of war, maybe picking up the swords or some of the things of the people killed in battle. And they decided, they disregarded the orders of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and they what? They left. They went down the hill to collect the booty. And we know one of the great warriors later, Khalid bin Walid, was not a Muslim at that time. And he saw the opening and he routed the disbelievers, and they suffered, the Muslims suffered this defeat. And of course, without going on and on, they lost, and they went home to lick their wounds. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent them home to lick their wounds, right? Because we know the events. But then, toward the end, something occurred. This last juice turns a little bit because it starts to console the loss of the Muslims, but it also told about those people who are in disgrace and demise, because the ones who went after the booty, right, what happened to them? The rout came, the turn of the battle came, and they became cowards, and they ran away from the battle. So they were known to be people who were cowards, and then they felt so bad because of cowardly acts, and then they heard about the Prophet ﷺ, and they thought he had been killed. So they had about, what he said, a double burden on them. SubhanAllah. Imagine thinking that my cowardness caused the death of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But anyways, as they went back and the Muslims were in defeat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala consoled them in this fifth Ruba of the Jews, telling them things that comfort their heart, to try to make them feel better about themselves, telling them about Jannah, telling them about what happens to those killed fi sabilillah, not really being dead. But then, I'll close with this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for those who had felt they had lost this battle, He did something for them that should be remembered, that they went back and imagined being defeated and wounded and beat down, tired, ready to go home. Went home, and once they got home, they heard that the Muslims, the unbelievers who had robbed them in Uhud, they realized they hadn't killed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they hadn't even taken any women hostages, because you know this was a thing in battle, take some hostages. So when they got on their way back, they said, we need to go back and finish them off. We had them now. They were already mad because of Badr. Let's go back and just finish this affair now. And the Prophet ﷺ heard about this, and the believers heard about this, and those believers who had already been beaten down and tired and felt lost, the Prophet ﷺ gave a call. Let's go again. Let's go and meet these people and defeat them. Let's go and fight again. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says this was a big reward for those people, because even after being in that state, the army got up and went to meet the non-believers again to fight. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to show how things are, when these armies met, it was not like today. They met and they decided, let's come back another time. Let's not fight this battle now. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed that He gave these people the ajr, the benefit of having fought fi sabilillah without ever lifting one hand or having one conflict, because of what? Their hearts were in the jihad, that their hearts were in the battle. And this group, it also mentioned how people tried to demise the believers when they saw they had lost. Tried to talk them down. This, well, you shouldn't have went. This is what had happened. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the very closing of those ayats, we remember where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said something, and these things were key, that one, that every soul will taste death. And in this ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is none but shaitan that tries to make you afraid and fear. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala don't say, don't fear anything except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because shaitan is the one that instills fear into our hearts to try and take away our iman. And remember that Allah says that every soul, kullu nafs, right? Every soul will taste death. So there's nothing that we can do to avoid it. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.